Hello everyone and welcome back to the Chris Talks Football Podcast, episode number 33 of this series. And today we're going to be looking at the final few match days of the Premier League. Match day number 36 has already been played. We'll also take a look inside the Championship as their league is drawing to a close in a couple of weeks' time. And we'll also be looking into the other European leagues as the titles and relegation have been decided elsewhere in Europe. So hopefully we're in for a good episode today. So then, with 2 match days to go in the Premier League season, it is time to see what results have been carried out, see which teams look like they're going down or not. And we're going to start off with the league leaders, Liverpool, who on the 11th of July, just last week, drew against Burnley at home. Burnley had some pretty good chances to win at the end with Johan Berg Gudmundsson hitting the crossbar. But Liverpool, again, not really up to scratch as they were when they were obviously playing for a title. And, you pretty much have to say that before the Burnley game, when they won 2 in a row, obviously that was what clinched them the title. But I think now Liverpool can take the foot off the gas, obviously now that they can't really go for a record points tally. But yeah, drawing against Burnley was a little bit of a tough result to take in. But the results that came after that might have been even worse to take in, because they then went on to lose 2-1 against Arsenal away at the Emirates Stadium with mistakes in their defence. Virgil van Dijk and Alisson, the 2 players that made mistakes that led to goals from Alexander Lacazette and Reiss Nelson. And the high standards that Van Dijk has, put himself up to recently in the last year and a half or so, you really do not expect that kind of mistake from a world-class centre-half such as himself. But Alisson as well, we've never really seen a lot of mistakes from him. The only mistake I can think of was against Leicester last season, where he tried to, pass out or dribble with the ball, but it went wrong. But yeah, his pass out and Reiss Nelson capitalised on him. And Reiss Nelson, who of course spent the last season on loan at Hoffenheim, got some experience under his belt. He looks like a lad who shows a good bit of potential. But Liverpool once again, obviously they have won the league. They are 18 points in front of Manchester City with 2 to go. So yeah, they had a chance to really make this comfortable. But again, could this mean that the title race next season could be, having a little bit of a shake-up? Because with Liverpool losing, of course, one of the main reasons why they're losing is they still have a little bit of a hangover from the title celebrations. But again, could this mean that the title race for next season could open up with Liverpool, with City, with Chelsea obviously having the arrivals of Hakim Ziyech and Timo Werner? Manchester United are in brilliant form as well. We'll talk about them. And yeah, Arsenal though do look as if they might not make a lot of signings in the next transfer window, which we'll talk about as well. But Arsenal and Mikel Arteta in particular has sort of complained about the lack of transfer budget that Arsenal will get for the next season. I think it's about only 30 or 40 million, and obviously that's because of the fact that they haven't got very far in the league. They're midway through the league table, and of course the fact that they're out of the Europa League, dumped out by the Greek champions Olympiacos. So really, Arsenal will have a tough time adding strength to their squad, because what they need, of course, is defence and attack. Obviously, Ceballos is going back to Real Madrid on loan. So, yeah, it's a lot of things to ponder about for Arsenal. But for Arsenal, of course, they stopped the rot, of course. They were 2 games without a win after losing to the North London rivals Spurs 2-1. Alexander Lacazette scored in that game as well, an absolute perler of a shot. But Spurs then went on to win 2-1. But yeah, it's now 3 wins out of the last 5 for Arsenal. A late surge for European football. They're 3 points behind 6th place Wolves. They're going to have to hope that Wolves lose their next 2 games, and the teams above them, Tottenham and Sheffield United, are going to have to hope that they lose as well. But it's a big battle for that last European or Europa League spot rather, and I think that will give a little bit more transfer budget, a bit more money to spend on players next season if Mikel Arteta can get Arsenal to that 6th place. It's not out of the question yet. They've only lost 1 less league game than Sheffield United and 2 less league games than Spurs. But their home form, really, if we look at it, by the way, Arsenal still got a little bit of a gap over to Everton in 11th place. 7 points now is the gap to 11th place, but in the home, their home form hasn't been too bad. 3 defeats at home all season. 33 goals scored, which is the same as Spurs have scored at home, and only 2 less than Leicester City have scored at home. 22 goals conceded rather, and that is the most out of anyone in the top 10. And if you go down, it's actually the most out of anyone in the top 12, including Burnley and Newcastle. So again, Arteta really needs to pull these guys together, go on a little bit of a late season surge to try and get into 6th place, because Wolves' home form is worse than theirs, but Wolves' away form is so much better than Arsenal's. Arsenal have lost 6 games away from home. Wolves have lost 4 but won 7 away from home. So yeah, but Liverpool, of course, that's only their 3rd defeat away from home this season. They've conceded 16 goals. Of course, they've got the best defence in the league, but they've scored they haven't really scored a lot of goals away from home. They've only scored 2 less. They've scored 2 less than Leicester City away from home. So again, the away form could be something that can improve under Jurgen Klopp, of course, for next season, if the title race is going to be a bit more competitive, with the likes of City and Chelsea likely to add to their squad. But yeah, Liverpool, of course, you can't take away from the fact that they've won 30 games out of 36. 32 out of 38 games would be an immense record, 99 points. But yeah, it's something to ponder for Liverpool for the future and for next season maybe. But for their closest rivals, Manchester City, they dispatched They dispatched Bournemouth by 2-1, and yeah, it was a little bit of a scare at the end for Manchester City. But coming off the back of a massive 5-0 win against Brighton away from home. Bit of a scare at the end for City, because yes, David Silva put them in front with a free kick, but then David Brooks came back late on, and they had a big chance at the end, Bournemouth, with Sam Surridge, who, if he just had a little bit more pace, would have dinked a free kick that was flicked on over the outstretched Ederson. But Bournemouth look like, with 2 match days to go, they're still 3 points from safety, with the worst goal difference in Watford. For Manchester City, 3 wins in a row: 5-0 against Burnley, 5-0 against Sheffield United, Brighton rather, away from home, and of course the win against Bournemouth. But again, with Bournemouth taking it to City, I do feel like next season the relegation race as well might hotten up as well. I don't know if Bournemouth are going to be in the relegation race next season. They might be in the Championship. But who knows? Obviously, I did talk about the title race maybe hotting up next season. But for Manchester City, if they're likely to add to their squad, they're obviously heavily linked with Milan Skriniar. Laporte is back from injury. Eric Garcia looks like a young prospect that might get some more game time next season. Obviously, David Silva retiring. They have the natural heir to David Silva in Phil Foden, who's started a few games off post-lockdown. So Manchester City are in really a good place in terms of replacements. And of course, the big news away from football was that City's ban in the Champions League was overturned, meaning that the fine will only be £10 million that they'll have to pay. That's a bit like change under the sofa, isn't it, for Manchester City? They've got so much money. But is it right? Well, when a football club has spent over £1 billion on players in the last decade and a bit, it does raise suspicions. But I mean, to be fair, Manchester City won't ever win the Champions League. Let's be fair, they will, but they will probably go out in the quarter-final or semi-final. But it's a stark contrast, actually, now I think about it, to what I said a couple of weeks ago when they said that they might have a chance of getting quite far in the competition. But yeah, I don't think Manchester City will win the Champions League anytime soon. If they do, then congrats to them. But good wins for Manchester City. But for their chase for the title next season, if they can add to their defence, it will be such a good place that they'll be in to try and challenge Liverpool, maybe Chelsea, maybe Man United. Who knows what will happen next season. But the battle for top 4 now is what we're going to focus on, and it involves 3 teams: Chelsea, Leicester and Manchester United, all of whom won their games in midweek. if they can try and get more momentum towards the end of the season, we will see a late surge as the top four race hottens up. But all three of them won this weekend's round of fixtures. Chelsea, of course, beating Norwich City by a couple of goals. They recovered from their Sheffield United 3-0 defeat to win at home at Carrow Road. Chelsea again still need to push on at the end of the season. But if you look at the two behind, Leicester City and Manchester United are really hunting them down. They're only 1 point off of Chelsea in the Champions League spot for third. Manchester United, out of the three, have the less defeats out of them, and they're in the best form because they, despite conceding a late goal against Michael Obafemi in Southampton draw at home, they managed to come back and beat Crystal Palace by 2-0. Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial scoring the 2 goals that helped Manchester United close in only 1 point behind Chelsea, and fully deserved, really. I think since obviously Fernandes came in January, they've been a different team, Manchester United, to the one we saw obviously post lockdown. They were struggling a little bit, and of course Fernandes had only just come in and turned things around. But with the momentum and form that they've got, it does seem as if maybe Fernandes can transform this side. Who knows what can happen? And qualification will be obviously out of their own hands, because as we see, the last 4 fixtures, or the last 2 fixtures rather, that these clubs do have. Chelsea in third do have Liverpool away and Wolves at home. I do fancy Chelsea to win at Wolves at home. I think Wolves will be tight if they're going to finish in a Europa League spot, but I do fancy Chelsea to win at Wolves. Liverpool away, though, it might be close, but I do think Liverpool will just edge it to get themselves back into form. They really need 4 points from their final 2 games to be sure of a top 4 spot. For Leicester, they've probably got the hardest ones, because they've got Spurs away and Man United away, and they're in that 4th Champions League position, but only on goal difference, meaning that, if they win against Spurs, it could be a winner takes all in the last game of the season against Manchester United on the 26th of July. And of course, they need to win their final 2 games to be sure of finishing in the top 4, Leicester. And as I've said, Manchester United have West Ham at home at Old Trafford in a couple of days' time, and then 4 days later they have Leicester. So that 4-day period compared to Leicester's 7-day period, that could benefit the Foxes more, because of course they have a little bit more rest. But can Manchester United do it? They have got Leicester away at the King Power, and Leicester's home form is not too bad. In fact, Leicester have got let me just have a look. Leicester have got the 3rd best home form in the Premier League, but Manchester United do score more goals away. They do score more goals at home rather, but Leicester score more away. They concede more away, Leicester, as well. So their home form is really going to have to, carry them into the Champions League, and it further enhances this point when they beat Sheffield United, who are trying to obviously qualify for the Europa League. They're in 8th place. They beat Sheffield United 2-0 thanks to goals from Damari Gray in the second half and Jose Perez in the first half. 18-year-old Luke Thomas making his debut for the Foxes, obviously in absence of Ben Chilwell and Ricardo Pereira, who, by the way, are 2 of Leicester's key players. And if they can qualify for the Champions League without those 2 players, it's just testament to the job Rodgers has done, and it's testament to the quality that they have in the squad depth. So, Leicester will be quietly fancied for a top 4 spot. But now we turn our attention to the Europa League spots. Wolves, who beat Everton 3-0 at home, a lacklustre Everton, it has to be said. Didn't really have a lot of shots on target. Diego Jota getting on the score sheet alongside Raul Jimenez, and Raul Jimenez has almost got over 20 goals in all competitions this season, because Raul Jimenez scored a screamer against Burnley in a couple of days ago to keep them in 6th place. And if they win their final 2 games, Wolves, they will be in the Europa League. They've got Crystal Palace at home and then Chelsea away on the final day. I already said I do fancy Chelsea to win that game against Wolves. For Spurs, of course, who beat Arsenal by 2-1. They went on to win away from home against Newcastle 3-1, with Harry Kane scoring his 200th Spurs goal. And if Spurs will want to qualify for the Europa League, of course, and if they at least win their final 2 games, they will have to hope that Wolves drop points. And of course, they are playing Chelsea away on the final day, so there is a bit of a possibility that Wolves could drop points. Now, will it happen? I did say Chelsea would win, but Spurs have Leicester at home and Crystal Palace away, so 2 pretty tough games, but considering Palace's run of form, it might be easier than they think. Sheffield United are, further away really than these guys. Sheffield United are 2 points away from Wolves, so really, again, like Spurs, they have to win their final 2 games, Sheffield United, and it's going to be tough. They have Everton at home, Southampton away. Everton, of course, at home, they drew against Aston Villa, we'll talk about that, and they have Southampton away, and Southampton, of course, drew with Brighton away from at home rather, and of course Danny Ings scored in that Brighton game to make it 20 goals for the season for him. They now need Wolves or Spurs to slip up, and it would be sad, but for Sheffield United to finish in the top half, it was still a good achievement. I predicted Sheffield United to stay up, but only just at the start of the season. So yeah, it is what it is. But for Arsenal, arguably, they have the easiest run of fixtures because they have Aston Villa away. Of course, they're fighting for their lives, but Aston Villa, again, look like they're going to go down unless they win their final 2 games, and Watford at home again. But of course, they are still in the FA Cup. They're against Manchester City today in the semi-final. I do expect City to win and, of course, go to the final to at least get some silverware. Of course, they've won the Carabao Cup this season, beating Aston Villa 2-1 in the final. Hopefully, they can go on and win the FA Cup because it will sort of salvage the underachieving season that they've had so far up to date. But, Arsenal do have a 3-point gap to bridge if they want to make Champions League, Europa League football. And currently, Spurs are in the better form. 3 wins out of their last 4. Wolves, obviously, unbeaten in their last 2, but 2 defeats in a row before that. Not handy for Nuno Espirito Santo. And of course, Arsenal scored the second highest amount of goals. So maybe Sheffield United will struggle scoring goals, which could cost them come the end of the season. Burnley, Everton, Southampton, Newcastle, still 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th. Burnley, of course, drew with Wolves 1-1. Everton drew with Aston Villa 1-1. Southampton drew with Brighton, and Newcastle, as I said, lost to Spurs 3-1. Crystal Palace, 5 defeats in a row. They got the joint worst record in the last 5 games with Norwich City. Obviously, their season is done and dusted now. They can't really finish any higher than what they can unless Newcastle and Southampton slip up. But now it's time to turn our attention to the bottom of the table. West Ham are the form team at the bottom of the table in that relegation race because, yes, they've conceded 60 goals, which is only 2 less than Bournemouth, but they've only lost 1 out of their past 5 games. Testament to David Moyes and the belief that the squad has in him. Mikel Antonio, Thomas Souček and Jared Bowen have been their key players again in a 3-1 win against Watford, which all but guarantees survival now. They're 6 points in front of Bournemouth with 2 games to go. They've won 2 more games than Bournemouth. They've lost 2 less games than Bournemouth. They've scored 47 goals, which is only 2 less than Wolves. So they haven't really got a problem in terms of scoring goals. Mikel Antonio is on fire right now. He's obviously scored 4 goals, the first Premier League player to do so in West Ham colours to score 4 goals against Norwich, which relegated the Canaries. We'll talk about that. And also the fact that he got on the score sheet again alongside Souček and Declan Rice with one of the goals of West Ham's season, really, a curler from 20-25 yards out from the edge of the penalty area. Brilliant stuff from him. There's talk that he may be rejoining his boyhood club Chelsea at the start of next season. I don't think that'll happen, to be fair. I think he'll stay with West Ham. He's not the type of person that would be disloyal, apart from if he's trying to vie for which country he plays for. But still, I think West Ham are pretty much safe now. They've got a couple of decent games away from home, but yeah, West Ham really should be safe. 6 points, as I said, 6 points with 2 games to go. It should be done and dusted now for West Ham. And to think, obviously, they were in a lot of trouble at the start of the season, at the start, post-lockdown rather, not at the start of the season. And yeah, it's really good that they obviously have that scoring touch with Mikel Antonio. But obviously for West Ham, they travelled to Manchester United away from home. So this win is vital. I'm not sure if they will beat West Ham away from home. Hopefully they could if they want to absolutely guarantee their survival. But yeah, in terms of their last game of the season, West Ham, of course, do have Aston Villa on the last day of the season. And of course, Aston Villa are fighting for their lives. They have Villa at home. So yeah, West Ham really should be safe, really, for now. But for Watford, 3 points. 3 points is the gap between them and Bournemouth. And Bournemouth beat Leicester City by 4-1. Dominic Solanke helping himself to a brace. Of course, I talked about their narrow defeat against Manchester City. So Bournemouth 1 defeat in their last 3 games now. Watford 2 wins in their last 3 games. And they did look a little bit lethargic against West Ham. Didn't really defend well, especially with Antonio's goal. They couldn't clear it out of their penalty area, and Souček's header wasn't really dealt with. No one really marked him. But I do think that Watford still have a chance. If they can win 1 more game, I think they'll stay up. I really do. I think Watford, yes, they've done well under Nigel Pearson, but I really do think Watford only need 1 more win. I don't think Bournemouth will have another win, but for obviously for Watford, they've got Manchester City away. So again, it's really tough for them. It's really tough because I don't know who's going to win against them. And of course, Watford do have Arsenal, so they really need 1 win out of them. And they've got Manchester City at home. So if they can maybe spring a surprise, I mean, they beat Manchester United at home, so maybe they can fancy themselves. Nigel Pearson is really going to have to work his socks off to try and get Watford to win against City on Tuesday, because I think that's their only chance. I think away from home, they haven't really been good this season. I think they'll lose to Arsenal, who of course have Europa League to fight for. But against City, Watford have to go for the win. There is no other way. Troy Deeney got on the score sheet against West Ham. Of course, he's their top scorer with 9 goals and 2 assists this season as well. But the likes of Sarr, Roberto Pereira, Deulofeu and Doucouré really need to step up. Troy Deeney's only 1 goal away from double figures in the Premier League this season. So, yeah, at least there's some hope coming into Manchester City. But staying with the relegation teams, of course, Bournemouth really need to win their final 2 games. I think, I said in the last episode, I think now the 3 teams in the relegation zone will be the 3 teams going down. I think Norwich, of course, we know have already gone down this season. But Bournemouth, 3 points behind. They encouraging loss against Manchester City. But I really don't know if they'll win their last 2 games. I mean, Bournemouth, they've won the same games as Watford, but they've got Southampton at home and they've got Everton away. Now, Southampton at home, they have to go all out. I think Southampton, with the form Danny Ings is in, will punish them. But I do feel as if they don't go at Southampton, it will be like the Newcastle game where they conceded 4 goals because Newcastle's attack was deadly that day, and of course Danny Ings is one of the deadliest strikers in the Premier League this season. They need Callum Wilson scoring. Yes, Callum Wilson has got 9 goals, same as Troy Deeney, but they need him scoring. He hasn't scored in a while, so of course he had that VAR goal denied against Spurs, which would have really helped Bournemouth out. Harry Wilson has scored 7 goals this season. Josh King has scored 5, and yeah, again, they need goals. I don't think they'll beat Everton on the final day. I do, however, think they're in with a chance against Southampton. But even then, if they beat Southampton and lose to Everton, they could still be going down due to their goal difference. They've only got 2 less than Watford. And if Watford beat Man City, who knows what their goal difference will be. Watford have scored less but conceded less. Bournemouth have scored more and conceded more. So it's tough. But for Aston Villa as well, they're in the same duck as Watford. They drew, of course, with 1-1 against Everton. Ezri Konsa opened the scoring before Theo Walcott's looping header went in. Konsa could not keep it out. They really needed to win that game. They really needed to win against Everton, because then that would have put them on 34 points. With goal difference, they would have still been in the relegation zone, but they would have been level on points with Watford. Basically, if Watford win one more game, I think that could be that for Bournemouth and Villa. I really do think that will be that. Villa, of course, really needed to win. Ezri Konsa, who I think I've slated a couple of times, he hasn't really been the greatest defender this season. A little bit inexperienced, of course, coming in from the Championship from Brentford. But I think that with obviously their top scorers for Villa haven't really been firing. Of course, Jack Grealish, 9 goals, 8 assists. Trezeguet, El Ghazi, McGinn and Hourhan have got some goals between them. But in terms of their fixtures, it's going to be tough. Aston Villa have Arsenal at home. Now, if they can get firing, if they can start the game off well, I do see Aston Villa maybe getting a point. I think if Aubameyang plays for Arsenal, he was left on the bench against Liverpool. If Aubameyang plays for Arsenal in that game on Tuesday, I think that could be game over for Villa. I think they won't get anything out of that game, because Aubameyang, of course, is 3 points behind Jamie Vardy for the Golden Boot, who didn't score against Sheffield United, by the way. Against West Ham away from home, I think West Ham will surely have secured their status. So I think West Ham will play with a lot of freedom, knowing that they've survived. And I think that's when we'll see them play their best stuff. So in essence, what I'm saying is, Aston Villa, I think if they play to their best, will only get 1, maximum 3 points out of their last 2 games. And again, if Watford and Bournemouth lose their 2 games, it's going to be so tight. I think 37 points will be the amount of points Watford need to stay up. Obviously, we've talked about 40 points is the maximum you need to officially stay up, but a point less here and there could still be absolutely crucial for the likes of Bournemouth and Aston Villa, who of course are trying to stay up this season, but who knows what could happen in the race for the relegation zone. Norwich, of course, lost against Chelsea, conceded 4 against Antonio. They've gone down as well, and replacing Norwich in the Premier League for the first time in 16 years. In essence, the last time Leeds were in the Premier League, I don't think I was born. Leeds United have been promoted to the Premier League. They haven't bottled it. This is real. I am not telling you any lies. Leeds United have gone up. 4 wins in a row for them after they beat Barnsley. West Brom are bottling it. 3 without a win. Only 2 points out of 9. And they're coming under pressure from Brentford, who are playing as we speak. And Brentford are up against Stoke City, who, for them, they're fighting for survival as well. But Brentford have the best home form in the league. They've got the 4th best away record. And Stoke's away form is truly wretched. 41 goals conceded away from home, only 22 scored. In essence, they've scored less goals at home than Derby, and Derby are in the bottom 5 for home form. But Brentford have the best home form in the league, and it comes as a great surprise. Can Brentford go up? I'm not sure I believe that at the start of the season, but now as we've gone into the end of the season now, I'm starting to believe. Obviously the BMW partnership up front is working an absolute treat. Thomas Frank, in my opinion, top 3 managers in the Championship alongside Marcelo Bielsa and Slaven Bilic. But still, I really do think that Brentford still have a chance. I mean, if we look at the Championship table at the moment, yes, of course, West Brom have played 1 league game more. Brentford are on a 5-game winning streak, and they've won 2 more games than West Brom. They deserve to be in the Premier League. If they can win against Stoke City, then they'll be 2 points in front of West Brom, which means West Brom have to win. And knowing Brentford, their last game, I believe, is at home, and they have the best home form in the Championship, surely that is going to be that. Surely Brentford will go up, and Leeds and Brentford in the Premier League. I predicted Cardiff to go up, Leeds and Fulham through the playoffs. Fulham, of course, are going to be in the playoffs. Cardiff are still in the playoffs, and Leeds have gone up. but Brentford could still go up. This is why I love the Championship, man. The battle for the playoffs is still raging. 2 games to go. Bristol City, who of course sacked their manager, have now gone on a 3-match unbeaten run. Preston North End could still be in the playoffs despite 1 win in their last 5 games. Swansea City, Ian Brewster's got them firing. The Liverpool only has scored a couple of goals since he arrived on loan for Steve Cooper's side. And Millwall, 3 wins rather in their last 4 games. They're doing well. Gary Rowett's had them in and around that playoffs for a long time. But the only problem is for Millwall, they haven't scored enough. Not as many as Cardiff City, at least. But the real story is that Wigan Athletic in the Championship, 12 points deduction will leave them 45 points. They smashed Hull City 8-0. 8-0. Hull City have conceded 83 goals in the Championship. They have the worst defensive record. This is a side that had Harry Maguire and Andy Robertson 5 years ago. That's mad. Mad to think. Hull City are on a losing streak of 4. And of course Barnsley, with that defeat at Leeds, leaves them 4 points from safety with 2 games to go. They have to win their games. Luton can still stay up. Hull City will not stay up. They've conceded 8 to Wigan. Obviously Wigan still has that 12 points deduction that will be applied to them. And Wigan could still be in a relegation battle, meaning they have to win their last 2 games. But 2 wins out of their past 3 games and the confidence of smashing 8 past Hull will really lift them. Charlton as well, they need to win. I believe they're at home to Wigan, I'm sure. Birmingham, whose teenage sensation Jude Bellingham is having a medical at Borussia Dortmund, they only need 1 more point to stay up, really, because they have a much better goal difference than the teams in the bottom 3. Stoke City, of course, need 1 more point, and Huddersfield Town are safe for another season. So that really is it in the Championship. And finally, leaving you off La Liga, Barcelona have not regained their title. Real Madrid have won La Liga after beating Villarreal by 2-1. Karim Benzema has been arguably their best player this season with over 20 goals in La Liga. Zinedine Zidane masterclass for Real Madrid then. Really good to see, because of course Real Madrid, I believe the last time they won the league was in 2016-17. I'm not too sure about that, but yeah, first league win in 4 years for Real Madrid, so it's good. And of course Zinedine Zidane, I believe that's his 2nd title with Real Madrid, and of course he's won, I think, 3 Champions Leagues with the club. So yeah, he's done an absolute masterclass there in La Liga. And the transfer window will be pushed. The transfer window will be pushed, the dates. Of course, right now teams should be signing players, but in terms of the transfer window, it was obviously like the previous season, but it is going to be on for much longer. It is going to be on for a little bit longer. Of course, it's going to now rage until the 5th of October. So more chance, of course. It means that people can make transfers in October. What? The only transfers that can happen in October of like free agent signings or, I don't know, loan deals or whatever, but it is what it is. Obviously, with the COVID pandemic, it will obviously delay the season. And of course, next month we do have the Champions League and the Europa League knockout. So plenty more football to go to. Hopefully, plenty more podcast episodes before the end of the season. And yeah, that is it. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed episode 33 of the podcast. And if you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Still trying to get that amount of people who have not subscribed down to as low a number as possible. Hopefully we can reach 50 subs by the end of the year. And yeah, stay safe, stay happy, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.